You were not meant to be a slave to the grind. You were not meant to trade your life force for money. You can escape gravity. You can unlock your life. You got this. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to Unlock Your Life. I'm your host, Jennings Smith. Today I've got a personal show. It's just me and you talking, no guests. And if you are a contractor or a small business owner, wholesaler, flipper, maybe you're a realtor, you're doing your own thing, this show is going to apply to you. This morning, I was getting my kids ready for school. I've got 4 children, and we have a glass door. Out of our kitchen, right to the cars, there's this glass like storm door. And my kids love to just push the door open. They put their hands firmly on the glass and just push the door open. Even though there's a handle, even though there's a side rail, they like to dip their hands in like butter, it seems like, and push their hands on the glass. And so this glass is filthy, smeared up, smudged up, and it's like my pet peeve. It drives me crazy. And so today's Thursday, and we had just gotten the house cleaned Wednesday, and this door is sparkling. And McCarthy, my 8-year-old, runs up to the door, and this is literally the second or third time this week, and just plants the handprint right on the door and pushes his way through the door. And I'm looking at my wife, and I'm thinking, man, he just messed up that door, and I really want to make him come back in, get the Windex, get the paper towels, and clean the door. But, we're late for school. We've got to go to school. It's going to take him probably 10 minutes to clean this door because, he's 8 years old. And so what do we do right here? I'm going to recap this story at the end. I'm going to tell you what happened. But guys, the subject of this podcast, this show, is I got tired of hustling. I was a contractor for 15 years, and here was my life's story. Somebody would call me, and I'm gonna use an example here. A guy named John, he calls me up. He's got this beautiful home on the water that he bought. And I'm talking like 4,000 square feet, and it hadn't been updated in 40 years. And he wants to do this major renovation. I think it was close to $1 million, right? So this was no small renovation. This was reside the whole house, new windows, changing windows openings, all new bathrooms, all new floors, all new trim, all new, changing floor plans, adding dormers, opening up skylights, new metal roof. If you can imagine it, we were doing it. And so this was a massive project. And he calls me up and he wants me to give him a bid. So I kind of give him a ballpark estimate of what I think it's going to cost. I hammer out a couple of the big quotes so I know the gist of what this scope is going to be. And we go into a agreement. And I spend the next probably 3 months pouring through these plans, finalizing stuff with the architects, with the interior designers. We're quoting things out, we're lining things up, and 3 months later, we finally, have a finalized budget. He officially hires me, and we go to work. So we go to work, and we start tearing this house apart, and it's a really fun job, and it was fulfilling. It was cool. We're working on the marsh. I'm looking over, the Charleston Harbor, very, very nice location. And the job comes together over the next, it was like another 6 or 7 months of active construction. And at the end of this job, the job is done, right? And so I've spent literally, 10 months working on this project, and we're done. And now I'm looking at the next section, right? Where he's moving in, there's callbacks, there's nail pops, there's paint touch-ups, there's a tile that cracked. There was something that was back ordered, a light fixture that finally came in. We got to go over there and install it. We got to adjust the doors. Some of them are sticking, just on and on and on. And I've got to warranty this job for really the next year or two cosmetically. And structurally, I've got to warranty it for longer than that, 5 to 10 years, depending on what state you live in. And so I'm just thinking, man, I poured my soul into this project for the last year, and it's done. I made the money. The guy held up his end of the bargain. He paid me. Nothing against the guy. He was a great guy. He was a great client. He really wasn't even like a difficult client to work with. And some construction projects aren't always so easy. So you're working with a difficult situation or a difficult client. But I'm thinking I poured a lot of who I am and my life's potential into this deal for a year. And now what do I have to show for it? I mean, did we make money? Yes. We made, I don't know, 15% on that job. So we made $100,000+. Cool. But it took me a whole year. And there were other deals I was doing at the same time, but it's not something that was scalable, right? It's not like I learned something and now I could repeat it over and over and over again. It's more like this was completely custom in every way and you can't do it again. And if you're a contractor, you're probably thinking, yeah, I know the feeling, right? You go out and you renovate someone's kitchen and you figure out exactly what they want. And you spend 3 months, 4 months, or whatever renovating their kitchen. The job's done. And now what are you left with? You're left with a liability. You're left with something that you've got to warranty. Same thing with realtors. They're out there hunting for that next client. The client goes out there and they buy their house. Well, after they buy the house, they don't need you anymore, right? They bought the house. So until they move, which maybe never, maybe they move in 5 years, but most of the time, it's not a repeatable source of income. So you work really, really hard. You make the money, but then it's over. And you've got to go hunt and kill and eat. And not every business is going to be a subscription-based business or something that pays you every month or every year. But there's definitely businesses that support ancillary. Like you think about manufacturing. You're learning on manufacturing and you're creating products. Those products can be scaled. You're learning from the processes. Maybe you're buying equipment to make the product better. You've got people that are buying from you and they're repeat buyers, right? Maybe you have middleman distributors. And so you're actually building something that is not super custom, that's not totally just focused around your skills. Because you think about it, a realtor, they're buying you, right? They're buying your personality, your marketing, your presence in the market, your expertise at getting the most money. As a contractor, they're buying like that, the subs, the vendors, the vision. You're going to be able to bring it to life. You're going to be able to keep them on budget. You're going to be able to get it done on time. And they want you. They want as much time, attention, and focus from you as they can get. And the more you get spread thin, right, the more clients you have, the more jobs you do, that suffers. And that happened to me a lot with my construction company where we would get super, super busy and we would start dropping the ball. We're trying to do 6, 7, 8 jobs at one time. And all the jobs started to suffer just because we didn't have the bandwidth to give every client that one-on-one attention that they really wanted. And so the point I'm trying to make is a lot of times we're building things that they don't last, right? We're building something to make that income that one time, but we haven't built anything that lasts. What I want to do is I want to work hard one time, right? Because I wasn't really hard, or I wasn't really tired of hustling. I'm not lazy. And if you're listening to this show, that's probably not your problem either. You're not lazy. You're not willing to do the work or get in there and grind and hustle. But when you have to do it over and over and over again, and you're really not getting anywhere other than incremental increases, maybe you make a little bit more this year or make a little bit less the next year, you're not really moving the needle in an exponential way by leveraging your time. That's where it gets exhausting, right? Because whose dreams am I building, right? I promise you that client that I did that renovation for, he's going to enjoy that every day. He's living there. That's his dream home. And in some time in the future, I don't know, 5, 10 years from now, he will sell that property and make a lot more money off of that property than I did, right? And this was just something going on in the background. This guy was a fun guy. He was raising capital. He was buying businesses. He was buying real estate. He was doing things that could pay him multiple times. And he's paying me, right, so that he can free up his time to renovate this house. And so I'm looking at this guy and I'm thinking, how can I be the guy that's hiring a guy like me versus be the guy that's working for him? How can I flip that script? And so I started to do that, right? The vehicle that I chose, or one of the vehicles I chose, was multifamily apartment complexes and self-storage. And so this was one of the very early deals I did. and it was a 42 unit in Lexington, South Carolina. And this was a deal that we bought for $1.6 million. And I say this like, oh yeah, we bought it. Well, no, it was really difficult to buy it. It took a lot of planning. It took a lot of hunting. We're searching for deals. We're underwriting, analyzing deals, and a lot of them don't make any sense, and we have to throw them away. We're making offers. Offers are getting rejected. But finally, we get something going here, and the broker, accepts the offer. We go into the inspection period where we're digging into the expenses. We find out that we can make the deal work. We like the deal. We're going to buy the deal. Now we got to get the down payment. So we got to get $450,000 raised. I go to my pool of investors and I get 5 or 6 of them to commit. They buy into the deal and we get the loan. I got to get a partner to help me get the loan because this is early on in my career. I wasn't able to get the loan myself, but I get it, right? And we get across the finish line of the closing. And I've worked very hard to get there, but I'm still not done because now that I've closed the deal, I've got to stabilize it, right? Because I brought this deal and it had issues. Kind of a crappy tenant base, 20% vacancy, expenses are out of control, rents are really low. And so over the course of the next 2 years, 1.5 years, we started to implement that plan. We renovated the units. We turned over the tenant base. We got the rents where they needed to be. We filled up the vacancy. We kicked out the people that were dealing drugs and causing problems. And fast forward 18 months later, we're able to get the building reappraised, and it appraises for $3 million. And the bank's willing to loan us $2 million. So now I've paid off my initial purchase price, that initial loan. I'm paying back the investors. I'm paying off the renovation costs that it took to get it to where we needed it to be. And now we're all into the building, for about $1.9 million, but we got a loan for $2 million. So we don't have any cash tied up in the deal now. And now it's in long-term debt, and it's fairly easy to operate this deal. It makes about $10,000 or $15,000 a month, and we're sending that distribution out to the investors. We're sending it out to ourselves, and that deal is essentially on autopilot, right? So we worked really hard for about 2 years between finding the deal, operating the deal, and doing the deal. But now I am paid every month. Every month I'm opening the mail, and there's another check from Lexington. I'm also every month that mortgage payment is getting paid, and that mortgage balance is dropping from $2 million down to $1,995,000. We're amortizing a couple $1,000s worth of debt, paying off a few $1,000s for the debt every single month. We're also continuing to raise rents. As the market goes up, we can raise rents $5, $10, and that adds to the valuation of the building so that it creeps up beyond $3 million to, over the next 10, 15, 20 years. It's not unreasonable that that property could be worth $6 million. I don't know what it's going to be, but I know that rents are probably going to keep going up, and we're going to keep paying that building down, and it will become worth more and more and more. And so all of a sudden, that deal that I worked really, really hard on, which I don't mind doing, is now paying me every month without taking the same level of focus and energy and intensity. So the point I'm trying to make here is you have to leverage your talents, you have to leverage your abilities, and you have to leverage your businesses so that it's not just a one-to-one output. Okay, so think about your business. Let's say you're a realtor and you're making $100,000 a year and you're doing 10 transactions a year and you're making $10,000 per transaction. I don't even know if that's realistic. Let's just say 20 transactions at $5,000. Okay. If you want to make more money, how do you make more money as a realtor? Well, the most obvious answer is I need to sell 10% more houses, or I need to sell more expensive houses. And so I've got to prospect more. I've got to send out more letters. I've got to reach out to more clients. I've got to get more listings. I've got to go to more networking meetings. I got to, whatever you got to do. And you get 22 clients instead of 20. And so you make an extra $10,000 in 2023 than you made in 2022. But 2024 rolls around, you still got to find those initial 20 clients just to keep your base. And then you got to grow another 10%. So now you got to find 4 more clients, and you got to work more hours and put more time. And eventually it's just like you can't make any more money without giving up your life, right? This is unlock your life. This is how do you think strategically? How do you increase the resources that you're bringing into your life without giving up your family, without giving up your freedom, without giving up the dreams that you have and the stuff that you want to do? So how do we do that? Most people, they're focusing on the wrong thing. And if you're trying to get 10% more sales, you're focusing on the wrong thing. You're focusing on that one-to-one output, right? So let's say you're a contractor. I've got to build one more house. I've got to build 5 more houses if I want to increase my revenue. Well, to build 5 more houses, I've got to hire more project managers. I've got to get in front of more clients. It's a one-to-one output versus if I'm going to go from 7 rental properties to 100 rental properties in a year and 500 in 2 years and 1,000 in 3 years, which is literally what Yaden and I did, my cousin, my business partner, that's not a one-to-one output, right? Because I can work hard one time on a deal and then I can put it into my stable. I can put it into my, portfolio of properties and it will grow. It will work. It will cash flow. It will continue to perform. Now, not all properties, are home runs, right? We have some that we've sold off, some that we flipped, some that have performed better than others, some we want to hold long-term, and some that we don't. That's part of the game, but I'm playing a different game versus the one I used to. I used to play one-to-one output. Now I can play 1 to 10, 1 to 50, 1 to 100, right? And this starts to generate income and net worth down the road that can far outstrip anything that I'm going to be able to physically earn in my small business where I'm just trading my time for money. If you're a small business owner out there, you're a contractor, you're a realtor, you may be thinking, well, I don't trade my time for money. I'm an entrepreneur. I own my own business. But if you really are honest with yourself, are you trading your time for money? I know I was. And I had employees. I had project managers. I had a business. Shoot, I even had a business that I was able to sell. But at the end of the day, the more hours that I poured into that company was really the only way that I could make that company make more revenue. I had to generate more sales. I had to generate more project managers and more clients to really make more money. At this point, I've got to work hard, really, really hard, one time to close another deal. And then once that deal is stabilized, it's going to pay me forever. As long as I can keep it full, keep it maintained, it's going to pay me forever. Yes, it's going to take a little bit of time, but it's not the same one-to-one output, right? I'm utilizing the leverage of the property managers, the leverage of the banks, letting me use their money, the leverage of the investors, letting me use their equity as the down payment so that they can get a piece of the deal. I'm leveraging that skill, a highly paid skill set, to exponentially grow the net worth. If you think about your retirement, right? Think 20 years, 30 years down the road, depending on how old you are. I'm 40 years old, just turned 40 last November. And I'm probably going to be retiring around, 60 or 70. And I say retiring lightly because I like to work and I don't know how I'll feel. But I've got at least 20 years of working ahead of me. And in 20 years, with the portfolio that we have now, I will be able to pay off a good portion of the debt. And I've done the math on this, but I'll be able to pay off a large percentage of that debt if I don't refinance everything over and over again. And I'll also be able to increase the valuation of that. And a lot of it's just going to be the market, right? If I buy in good areas and inflation continues to happen, real estate historically has gone up by 2% a year for the last 50 years. And that's 2% on the whole pie, right? So if you're buying a $5 million building and you've put $1 million in cash in there, well, you're not growing your $1 million by 2%. You're growing the $5 million base by 2%. That's $100,000 a year in growth, right? So $100,000 a year is 10% of $1 million in cash. And it's done just by the escalation of the market and the escalation of rents, and inflation keeps marching along. And so I know that in 20 years, if I hang on to my good properties and I keep them in good shape and full, what they're worth now will most likely increase by 50 to 100% in 20 years, right? We look at prices back in 2002, 2003 versus today, and you can see that it paints a pretty clear picture, pretty compelling picture of real estate incrementally marching up over time. So back to the point of focusing on the wrong thing. So I used to focus on, well, we need to have more systems and processes, and we need to have more sales, and we need to have more advertising. We need to sign more deals and sign more clients. Sure, but that's never going to get me to where I want to go. I want to go $15, $20 million retirement, net worth, nest egg, whatever you want to call it. How am I going to do that with a construction company? Right? If I make $150,000 and I'm able to push it up to $200,000, and then the next year I've got to spend all my time and effort to make the same $200,000 or $250,000 if I want to increase it again, like I'm not making the investments and I'm not having those vehicles drive me to get anywhere near $5, $10, $15 million in net worth on the back end. The only way I'm able to do that is a different vehicle. And not all businesses are created equal, right? And that's why I say focusing on the right things. Because I know guys that are building businesses and they're actively working in their business, but it's something that is scalable. It's something that's repeatable. It's something that they can work hard one time, they can sign a contract, and that guy's going to buy from them month after month after month after month, right? They can hire a project manager that can focus on a process and they're making the same product over and over and over and over again. And it creates a very stable income stream. And a stable income stream, people are willing to pay for that, right? We just bought a company last year, a pet company, and it's an online blog. And this is a perfect example of a business that's utilizing leverage, not one-to-one input to output, but 1 to 100 leverage. So here's how they work. They find a product that they like. Let's say it's a GPS tracking collar. And this is a real story. So this company, Technobark, it's a blog, right? And so they review 5, 6 different GPS collars and they find out which one's the best. And then they work a deal out with the company that makes this GPS tracking collar and say, if we refer people to your website to buy your tracking collar, will you pay us a commission? And the company says, sure, we'll pay you whatever they pay, 15, 20%. And they track the leads that flow to the website. And when they buy, they get paid. And so they write blogs, they promote, they say, this is our favorite, right? And they actually do review these and pick the best one they like. And those are the ones they partner with. But this is the best GPS dog tracking collar. And so there's a income stream of people going to that website, and they have a function of, if we run this much Google ads, if we tune up this SEO, if we get this much web traffic, if we get 80,000 people a month going to our website, this many will click, this many will buy, and we can generate consistently $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month in income. Right? And so you can lay that out on a T12 and you can say, okay, this company makes $500,000 a year. It's worth 4 times the net profit. And so it's worth $2 million. And people will actually buy it, right? We bought it. We bought it from the guy that built it from scratch because we can see the residual income consistently coming in. And we know, well, we can add more products. Like if we add another product, write a blog, like that's going to be work. We've got to build a relationship with a new vendor. We've got to write reviews. We've got to review the product. We've got to set up the online store. But then we just have to drive traffic to the website, which we're already driving traffic to the website, and we can increase sales. And not only are we going to increase sales that month, it's going to be the next month and the next month and the next month. And we've got an exponential leverage play. So what do we do next? We add another product line. We scale up the ads, we scale up the SEO, we scale up the web traffic, and we can generate large returns without having to work harder. You see what I'm saying? We can work hard one time, we get paid over and over and over. And so this is what they've done. They bought it, doing $20,000 a month in revenue, and they tuned it up. They added a few more products. They cranked up the SEO and they cranked up the marketing. They cranked up the web traffic, and they've pushed that thing to 40, 45,000 a month in a couple of months. And it's the same company with the same amount of input, but the output is exponentially higher. And that's why they bought it, because they knew that it had that opportunity to do that, versus if I buy your construction company and I want to double the revenue. Think about that. We doubled the revenue in 2 to 3 months. One, that's probably going to be impossible. And two, if I do that, I'm going to run into a lot of other ancillary problems. Staffing, payroll costs, training, new clients, more warranty. I've got supplier issues maybe. Maybe my subcontractors can't keep up with my growth. There's a whole bag of worms to scaling that I'm not running into with this model. And this is why I like to tell people, look into multifamily versus single family homes. Like, think about scaling your single family home portfolio from 2 or 3 rentals to 50, to 100, to 1,000. You want to take care of 1,000 roofs, 1,000 tax bills, 1,000 insurance companies, 1,000 transactions to buy these things and sell these things, 1,000 mortgages. It's super daunting because the input output is 1-to-1 on the rental home, versus I bought a 34 unit in Ohio, $40,000 per unit. And how long is it going to take me to find 34 single family homes in Ohio for $40,000 that I can rent for $750 a month? That's going to take me years. Whereas I can do that in one fell swoop in a multifamily deal. So make sure that you're focusing on the right problem. If you're focusing on, I just want 10% or 20% more output, and I know I'm going to have to scale up my input, you're focusing on the wrong problem. Gonna go back to McCarthy now. So what I did was I looked at my wife and I said, McCarthy, get back in here. Go get the Windex. And my wife says, we gotta go to school. I said, no, we've got to begin as we mean to go. If we ever want to solve this issue, if we ever want to solve this problem of the kids just pushing their hand on the door and walking out and me having dirty handprints all over the door all the time, if that's ever going to be solved, then we have to begin as we mean to go. We have to think about the end in mind, right? Because I don't want him to be 15 years old and still doing that. And if I don't do something about it, if I don't course correct now, that's where I'm going to end up, right? So with your business, with your children, with your marriage, with every aspect of your life, go out to the end. Think about that. What do I want? What do I want this to look like? What am I shooting for? Begin with the end in mind, and then start doing the things today that are going to get you there. Because I promise they're going to be painful. They're going to be a pain. I didn't want to get McCarthy to come back in and get the Windex and clean the door. It would have been easier just to do it myself or just ignore it, right? Forget it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It does matter. And when you start to see the things that I work on or don't work on are really going to matter 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road. I was talking to a guy earlier today, and he was a contractor and busy, right? Super busy. We're all super busy. And talking about multifamily, it's like, dude, if you can spend an hour or two a day working towards this, like building the skills, educating yourself, learning how to underwrite, learning how to analyze deals, making connections with brokers, plugging into a network, you're going to get there. But it's not going to be convenient. The urgency, the tyranny of like right now I got to pick up the phone for this client. Right now I got to go show this house. Right now I've got to go put out this fire. And before you know it, the years slip away and we don't end up where we wanted to go because we never clarified in our mind where that place was. And we didn't take it back to, what do I need to do today to get there? So guys, I hope this show has been impactful. It was definitely impactful for me going through this. And 4 years into it, I'm really grateful that I started to make those decisions and those shifts and those changes. And that's gotten to me to where I am today. And I'm looking down the road and I'm liking what I'm seeing versus looking down the road and it being cloudy at best or an outcome that I really don't want at worst. So guys, if I can help you, reach out to me, shoot me a DM, shoot me a message on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. I'd love to talk with you more about this if this is something that you are interested in, wanting to unlock your life, wanting to build something solid for the future that you can count on. It's dependable. Make it a great week, and don't forget to unlock your life. Peace.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.